He knows, doesn't he? We talked about that with the pineapple outside, right?
We're live? Yeah. Thanks for the warning, Amy. Appreciate it.
We're recording.
Okay. Amy, you just tell me when you're ready, okay? No rush. Here's your keys.
He's getting good at pressure.
Oliver! I'm sorry, one of my students. You ready? Amy, call to order, roll call, and establish a quorum for the City of Perkins regular meeting Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Yay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Please stand for the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, I just come to you tonight, Lord, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve this wonderful city. Father, I pray that you bless us with wisdom and discernment tonight. I pray, Father, for a hedge of protection over our city, and I pray that you protect our police officers and everyone that serves this city in the way that they do. I just thank you, and thank you for your precious Son. In Jesus' name, amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and all right. Number 4, consideration action on consent agenda. Commissioners, anyone?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second?
And the race is on.
I got you.
I see you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
And number 5 passed. Number 6, public appearances, petitions, communications, and personal appearances. Under Oklahoma law, the city commission members are prohibited from discussing or taking any action on items that are not on today's agenda. Anything? No. Number 7, hopefully I pronounced the name correctly. Presentation by Jim Waring, Law Enforcement Engagement Director, and Nick Allgood, Chief Crisis Officer of Grand Lakes Mental Health Center. If there's anyone else here, just come on up and tell us about it, Jim.
Okay. Come on up here. I brought Tom Comstock instead
Tom?
of Nick.
That's okay?
He's better looking anyway. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City of Perkins. My name is Jim Waring. I'm the Law Enforcement Engagement Director for Grand Mental Health. We dropped the lake, so now it's just Grand Mental Health. We serve 12 counties in northeastern Oklahoma, and we also, we have 4 crisis units now? 6 crisis units. We keep building. We've also moved into Tulsa. So part of my job is, I'm a retired police officer. Tom is a retired police officer. And part of my job is to help the law enforcement engage with the mental health services, kind of bridge that gap, do a little bit of interpreting, if you will, because I think it's been much needed, you know, with the mental health crises that we're dealing with more and more in our substance abuse crises. So I speak a lot to, I'm in direct contact with a lot of law enforcement agencies in 12 counties all the time. Runs the crisis units, and so we're both kind of 24/7, 365. I don't have to tell you all that mental health is a huge issue with the communities. Whether it's Tulsa or it's Perkins, Oklahoma, we still have these individuals that are in need more and more. We also have law enforcement that are in need and first responders that are in need. Part of Tom and I's, one of our biggest passions is the life expectancy of a career police officer in the United States is 60 years old. The national average for a regular population is 78.9, something like that. So the job takes a huge toll, but also law enforcement is tasked. They're usually the first responders on dealing with individuals with mental health crisis, things like that. And what do you do? How do you help? How do you I know that Tom and I both, Chief is laid awake at night. We wished we could have helped somebody. 3.5 years ago, I took this job, and again, this is 12 counties, over 1,000 different officers, many departments, tribals, and everything else. So I decided I wanted to create something for an outstanding officer and an outstanding police administrator that really was going to partner with us, not only to help, but also to help their community, think outside the box, help their officers. Chief here has been, I'm proud to call him not only a champion for mental wellness and mental health in the communities, but I'm also very proud to call him a friend of mine. He has been absolutely outstanding in helping us solve problems. We're not always right, police departments aren't always right, but he's always been there to say, hey Jim, what can we do to make things better, not only for the community, but for our officers and our first responders. We've done multiple debriefs at the fire station with first responders. He's always contacted me right off the bat. And so I have, not me, but Grand has selected him as the Police Law Enforcement Administrator of the Year with Grand Mental Health, and this is in 12 counties, and Tulsa County too, and it's well deserved, Chief.
Picture! Yeah, throw me under the bus. There we go. Rachel just went. She pulled a Rebello. She just... Bob, we're so very proud of you. Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you know this guy?
Yeah. I claim him even.
Yeah. I like having him around. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for what you do just outside of the award. We really appreciate it. And we see you.
He's a blessing to your community.
Amen.
Very much so. Thank you.
Your cheeks are a little rosy. Aw. Okay. It's kind of heartwarming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Number 8, presentation and discussion with commission by Kimberly Adams, OG&E Community Affairs Manager, regarding proposed streetlight installation on North Main Street, electrical utility location, and general OG&E operations. Ma'am.
Well, hello, Bob, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Big deal. So as your agenda states, my name is Kimberly Adams, and I'm with OG&E, and I'm here to update you tonight and kind of just hopefully offer some explanations to the lighting situation and the new line that we have here. I have notes in very big print that I'm probably going to read more, but I want you to know I want to do that because I just don't want to miss anything, because I think this is I know it's very important to each of you here tonight. So my title is Community Affairs Manager for OG&E, and Perkins is one of the communities that I represent on behalf of OG&E. My main purpose and my main role is to foster positive relations with all the communities that I work with, and obviously the city of Perkins is one of those. And so I know Bob has briefed you on the challenges with the decorative streetlight installation on North Main. Bluntly, OG&E, we should have communicated better throughout this entire project. We should have provided a clear understanding of the purpose behind our infrastructure improvements and the resulting consequences. And on behalf of OG&E, I apologize for the oversight. and we and I commit to improving our communication. So I want to kind of speak about how we got here in a couple of like segments. And the first segment I want to discuss is the line that is on North Main. In November, construction commenced on a vital circuit serving Perkins to address the increased demand from the new development in the Kinderwell subdivision. This upgrade, which truly impacted all of the city of Perkins, cost more than $3 million, and it enhances reliability, will reduce outages, and significantly boost electrical capacity for the future growth in Perkins. And I know it's no surprise to you, you know how this community is growing. I wanted to be able to put that in perspective of what that means, what this investment means to you, and that would power, just generally speaking, about an additional over 460 homes here in Perkins with the upgrades that were made to the circuit serving Perkins, and which was part of the new line. It's crucial to note that the city of Perkins bears no cost for this enhancement. Providing electrical service is our obligation. This $3 million cost to improve the city is part of our operations plan, and cost is shared among our 900,000 customers. You probably are aware that the OG&E service area runs from like northwest Oklahoma, and we go over and include Fort Smith, Arkansas, and we have about 900,000 customers in that area, including about 267 communities that we represent, just like we represent the city of Perkins. I also want to clarify why we opted to not place this line underground, just so you have that perspective. Almost always, in well-planned residential developments, we choose underground installations. However, for commercial areas without precise development plans, we keep lines overhead due to the uncertainty of power needs and locations of future businesses in the area. I know that's kind of a mouthful. This flexibility benefits customers by allowing us to serve their needs better once they have established operations and businesses. So to put that in perspective, when we have an overhead line without knowing exactly what the load is going to be for that area, when we can, when we have to get power to that business or that commercial development, it's easier and less costly to do it from an overhead line. Okay, so you have that perspective. Additionally, OG&E faces the ongoing challenge of balancing affordability and reliability, and this is a huge issue. Our rates are currently 20% below the national average. Not surprisingly, overhead lines are cost-effective, easily adjustable, and quicker to repair during outages. With no load to offset the cost, in February of 23, the estimated cost of undergrounding the line was, I'm going to speak in rough figures, in February 23 was around $100,000 for the line on North Main. If we had allowable to offset the cost, which we worked on, we thought we could get there, and the cost would be around $80,000. To show you what time has done, today that same distance of line to underground it is estimated to cost $250,000. So, and there's reasons why, but you all fill it in your checking accounts and everything with just inflation, and the cost of everything has gone up. While underground lines improve reliability, they are not foolproof. Water and underground animals can damage them, and repairing underground lines involves excavation. We have to come in and dig out where we have the problem, and it leads to longer restoration times. Now, I'm just sharing that just for knowledge, okay? Just so because a lot of people think an underground line is the be all end all. It's better, absolutely, but there can be challenges with it as well. So that's the information regarding the line. Now I also want to talk about the lighting. Regarding the installation of decorative street lighting along North Main, the lighting plan proposed 22 decorative streetlights. We had a light study, that's what came back, that you would need 22 decorative streetlights, but several factors also influenced this project. Our lighting representative engaged in discussions with Paul multiple times over the last 2 years. There's been ongoing communication. Formal initiation for OG&E to begin a project requires a written request on city letterhead. And that was received on October 13th, 2022. The light study and cost estimate were sent to Perkins on October 30th. And construction began on that line on November 4th. So I just want you to understand too that the timelines were very tight on both of these projects. Bob raised concerns about stakes on August 29th and personally discussed them with me on October 5th. I then reached out to my OG&E colleagues, and after consulting with them, it was evident that delaying the project, delaying the line installation, would also have an impact on providing power, somewhat obviously, to Kinder Wells, because that was what we were moving toward. We wanted to have enough power for that development. Then, because it's Highway 177, the involvement of ODOT complicated matters, as approval for street light placement on a state highway is required. So when ODOT became involved, they did not approve the placement for 7 of the 22 lights in the lighting plan that we submitted.
What date was that?
I don't have that in my notes. Hang on. And Bob, if you remember off the top of your head. I have July 12th of 2023. Liz?
I have no idea.
Okay. Can I say it was somewhere along July 12th of 2023? That might not be the exact date. That's what I'm showing in my timeline. Okay, so that's when we presented, after that, I mean, time has passed now, but when we were trying to resolve this situation to get the lights installed, that's when, I believe at the last meeting of the commission in December, when Bob brought up that we proposed a couple of options that would go ahead and place 15 of the decorative street lights like you want, with 7 of them having to go on the wood poles because of the ODOT requirements and where the line is. None of this, please hear me, none of this is not meant to be an excuse. There are things we certainly could have done better. All I want to do is just provide, again, like I mentioned, some context of the journey to this point. Now, to try to talk about solutions, as we've talked about this hours internally, and it has been escalated very high up the ladder at OG&E. I think if I'm more involved with your planning commission meetings, that would be beneficial because we will know what's being planned, so that I can get Bob and everybody in touch with people sooner, so that we know what is your needs and desires for Perkins. This ensures internal communication, so me bringing in OG&E about upcoming development opportunities in Perkins, enabling us to promptly allocate resources for project implementation. That's the official way of saying what I just said. And here's an example. For instance, when Bob and I were talking, we just recently became aware of the Iowa tribe development and what they have planned for that area. We're working on it. Once we confirm, and Bob has sent me quite a bit of information, but once we confirm the load associated with the proposed development, it possibly can help offset the cost to take that line underground. I don't have that confirmed at this point. But for us, OG&E, our goal is twofold, and I really want to make sure that I emphasize this. We want to place that line underground, and we want to do it in the most effective, least amount of cost manner. And to do that, and I don't want to mess up this explanation, but we can offset it by knowing what the load will be for that area that's being developed. So as soon as we have some development information, we can come back to you, hopefully very sooner than later, as to, hey, we can offset the cost this much, or we can offset the cost this much, or maybe the load's enough to offset the line altogether to go underground. And then so that's our first goal. Then our second goal is to expedite the installation of certainly those 15 decorative lights, but work as hard as we can to get some better resolution to those 7 that are going to be on wood poles. And I don't know that we're going to get there, but I just want you to know that it's on our priority list. And it's on our radar screen to solve this problem. It's just sometimes we have to deal with what we have to be able to solve a problem. So with that, my last statement. I firmly believe, just throughout my life and things that have happened, that challenges present opportunities for improvement. Your concerns have not gone unnoticed, and we are dedicated to working toward a resolution. And this is important as a commitment. As a company, our commitment lies in fostering the growth of the communities we serve, and I want to explain that just a little bit further. You may or may not be aware that in Oklahoma, service territories are locked. We can't expand our load or expand our service, nor can any other electrical utility, because every utility has the line that has the area that they serve. So the only way OG&E grows and other electrical utilities in Oklahoma is if the communities and the people that they serve, that capacity increases. That's how we grow our business. And so I want you to know that's why it's in our best interest to make sure Perkins is taken care of. To make sure Perkins, when you have a need like Power for Kinder Wells Edition, that we do that, we serve that. So we're a partnership. Our strength is intertwined with yours, and we will, mark my words, we will be a partner with you to enhance Perkins, making it an even better place to live and work. So that concludes my comments, and again, my purpose of being here tonight is just to hopefully shine some light on how we got to this point, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have. Joining me here tonight is my colleague Terry Robbins, and he's been involved with the line development. So if I can't answer your question, I'm sorry, I'll get back with you, but that concludes my remarks.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd just like to make a couple clarifying statements.
Absolutely.
The statement about OG&E needs written notice to proceed on streetlights. That's a rule. It's a rule that's not always followed, but I'm sure it will be now. And whatever date that I sent that letter, was it October or something?
We have October 13th,
Of
2022.
Okay, we started talking, I personally started talking and have written conversations with Corky Tomlin, the OG&E lighting guy, on January 12th, 2021. And we were discussing North Main.
Is there a reason that he's not here today? That you were sent here today?
Well, this is kind of my responsibility to be in front, to interface with the community, and I think he had a conflict. I don't know.
Because you're not the person that says, go ahead and put it in a lighting line above ground here.
Yeah, but Bob raises a good point. I did. I know Bob has been in contact with us verbally for,
Well, and in writing.
and,
And I think it's important to note that. And just one other thing that stuck out to me when you were speaking, as you mentioned providing service to Kinder Wells twice, and that's because the developer was constantly calling some of the people at OG&E. But we didn't get notified.
Were they notifying you? Were they speaking to you?
I don't think Kimberly did. Well, when they started putting construction stakes up on North Main, I don't remember the date. I mean, you have it because I sent it to you, but
8/29.
I either called or sent an email to Corky and said, hey, are you already putting those lights up on North Main? And he said, what? And I said, well, there's stakes out here, and it kind of looks, just driving by, like it'd be street light spacing. And he said, I don't have any idea what that'd be.
and
So then I called her, or emailed, or whatever.
And that's the point I
Nobody
want.
was aware.
Right. He's exactly right. And I do agree with that. When I say we can better communicate with Bob, and we can better communicate internally as well.
That's,
So were you involved in any of this?
So,
Yes, please.
state your name for,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Terry, T-E-R-R-Y, Robbins, R-O-B-B-I-N-S.
what's your title, sir?
I'm sorry?
What's your title for,
I'm supervisor of our distribution project management.
okay, thank you.
So it was one of my guys who handled the Kinder Wells project to bring power to it. So
did you okay the lights to go up there?
our engineering department does our designs. And so, yes, it was internally approved through the design.
So
So were you aware that it was going in there when it went in there?
I personally didn't have knowledge of it until we were contacted by Bob, but that is not unusual. So
No, it might not be unusual in terms of processing, but as it's after the fact, and you guys are here to speak to us on behalf of OG&E, which I can appreciate. This is a terrible situation that you two are in because you had nothing to do with this, and you're here to basically tell us that there's nothing that we can do about it at this time either. And so I'm sorry for you guys that you guys are here to have this conversation with us.
the communication snafu, for better words, was not just on Main Street. There's still a pole on Lover's Lane that's right smack dab in the way of our drainage, right smack in our drainage ditch. And it diverts the water right to our sidewalk. And then not communicating with our city manager caused at least 1 or 2 days of our students in this city being released while there's a backhoe, a track hoe on the same sidewalk that our little kids are supposed to walk on. No communication whatsoever. And I agree with Vice Mayor Rebello when she says, you know, you guys are facing the brunt, but you have to understand, this has been very, very
Absolutely.
frustrating. I come around the corner on a weekend, and they're putting in the poles. And I take pictures and I send them to my city manager, and he knows nothing about it. Not one opportunity was given us. We didn't even get the opportunity by OG&E to say, to work with you to, no, I'm not even saying it was in the budget to pay for it, but we didn't even get the opportunity to say we'd rather have that underground. And there was already, the buy down was already in the process. We had already signed a $155,000 buy down for lights, and then a deal to work on and make sure we get these monthly, yearly payments for the lights that are already up on Main Street. And all that was lumped together in one package.
And there was communication going on with us.
Yes.
And you. But nobody was putting the pieces together on our behalf in order to make sense of a project that we have going on in our city. And like you said, we have no other choice. We have to work with you. So basically, personally, what I'm hearing is deal. And that's really unfortunate because I would prefer that we have a partnership where we're communicating with each other. And like you said, when something arises, that's an opportunity to improve. but I don't see that step on your behalf, not personally, because you guys are actually here today. But the solution is, well, you guys need to go ahead and develop your city further in order to fix this snafu that we did when we had an ongoing conversation. And I'm just saying that so that it's on record. I'm not saying that to you, or I'm not directing it to you personally, but Bob has already said that he's gone above and beyond to communicate, to say what's going on. Hey, stop, what are you guys doing? We're trying to do this, and you guys have so much going on. Apparently, I don't know what's going on over there in your house, but now we're here to serve the brunt of it, and I have citizens calling me repeatedly, asking me, why do we have these ugly utility poles? What happened to the pretty poles? And I'm here as a representative of those citizens. And each one of those citizens, including myself, is paying you for our personal electricity.
We need, we need each other. And I will just keep reiterating what Vice Mayor says, is like, you guys are facing the brunt of this. But, we've all been bragging about these lights. Our capital improvement plan is a step-by-step process, and things happen and change. It's a living, breathing document, and it changes all the time. But those lights are an aesthetic, feel-good, come to our city. We love our city, and we're taking care of our city. We think it's beautiful. We want you to come eat here. We want you to come hang out here. You turn the corner off of 33, and you see those poles. And it looks like all we care about is putting in some homes and some houses and nothing else. But that's a community thing that I know for sure I'm proud of, that we were able, that Bob was able, that Rachel was able to find that money. And I can't tell you how excited. It's already been in the paper. We've already talked to our friends and family, and they're like, when's this gonna happen? I'm like, well, I don't know. I might not even be mayor by the time it gets put in. And I don't know about anyone else in this room, but I think I don't care for poles on one side and lights on wooden sticks on the other side. My dad raised me to not do things halfway, and the options are halfway. And I get it that OG&E has spent a lot of money, $3 million. But they're gonna make that back.
Well, but it's first of all, you're all, please know, I am the one that's here, and
We appreciate that.
I know you do, and I want you so much to know this whole situation has not fallen on deaf ears. We want this partnership going forward. Now, all I can say is hang with us. I think that's about the most I can say. Let us keep working on it. Let us keep trying to find a solution, because we do want to be a partner with you. And I agree, Bob does communicate with me a lot. He's communicated with a lot of people at OG&E. This brought some things to our attention as well. But I just want you to know, I want you to know we're working on it. You know we've got an issue, and we're working on it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is putting the lines underground possible right now? With the way that the land sits, is it possible?
Is it physically possible? I mean,
Is it possible? Can you put the lines underground, and will they still support Kinder Wells like you had intended?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Yes.
Okay. You're not wanting to do that, OG&E is not wanting to do that because of the burden of cost. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you're working in an area that is guaranteed. You are providing power in an area that is guaranteed for you, 900,000 something customers that will continue to want electricity, because I don't see us all turning around and going and living in the middle of nowhere. So the investment of putting those lines underground, OG&E would make up.
So we don't just initially we have the initial investment of putting a line in, But that's not where our cost ends either, correct? You know,
I understand that.
so we have to maintain it. We have to produce the power that runs through that line. And there's many other things that go into that as well. And so
Sure.
we have offered, Bob, and I did when this was first brought to our attention, a couple of different options in order to be able to get that line buried. One of them was, at the time, we thought we had some allowable left over in the Kinder Wells project, that we were going to be able to offset some of the cost. It was still going to cost the city around $80,000 to put that in. Or we could wait until that developed, and we could use the allowable as that developed to either bury sections of that line or bury the whole thing at no cost to Perkins other than time. At that point in time, we didn't know, I didn't, and it's sad to say that I didn't know, about the lighting project. So when the lighting project came up and that line happened to be in the way, that's when all this has came up to here. We have done nothing but try to figure out solutions to this the best that we can to try to, for lack of a better word, limp this along until we can get it buried. But it's difficult.
So we've looked at, OG&E has looked at solutions that do not go outside the cost of the project originally.
I'm not sure I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm not sure I do.
So you've looked at other options of, can we bury partial of it? Can we do this? Can we do that? Using the budget that was originally allocated for this project. Not looking at the fact that there's been a breakdown of communication that is on OG&E's side, where perhaps OG&E would need to look at other funding options in order to remedy and fix this partnership that we have no other choice but to have with each other
So we
in
initially,
order to fix it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to.
you're fine.
So we did initially look at using the leftover funds from the Kinderwell project. But because material costs went up and labor costs went up, we had nothing left in the coffers. We had nothing left.
But what she's asking you is, have you looked outside of what that budget allocated to make up for the mistakes that OG&E have made?
So I'm going to disagree that we made a mistake, just to be on the record. But we have looked at other options, and part of it is using the development that's going to be going down
So
177.
you don't think not communicating with our city manager is not a mistake?
So that part is, yes, ma'am.
So that, I mean, that would alleviated so much up front. And I understand that you've got a job to do and you guys gotta come in, you gotta take care of what a developer has requested, and we got all these things in the works. But at the same time, I have a hard time wrapping my brain around why you wouldn't go into any city or municipality and not contact the person that's in charge of running that municipality, which would be, in our case, Mr. Bob Ernst, our city manager. And then go from there.
Can I give you a little back history of how our projects come into us and how we
Sure,
how we
absolutely.
cities?
Knowledge is good.
So Mr. Wells was a developer of Kinder Wells. So he or his representative, he called us about developing that property and that subdivision coming in. What typically happens, and what we took for granted, and I'll admit we took it for granted, that the city of Perkins knew that Kinder Wells was coming in and then the development was going to take place. Without a planning meeting, which ahead of time when the plat came in and was being developed, we were under the assumption, and this is where we messed up, that the city of Perkins did know that we were going to have to build infrastructure to get to the.
That was kind of initially blamed on me too, right?
No, sir.
For lack of a planning meeting. When we had the meeting in my conference room,
Well, what we tried to convey is that most cities, when they have a development, will have a planning meeting.
the cities contact OG&E. I don't think OG&E just usually relies on the developers within a city, like if you call other cities.
And there's another developer who's developing things on the side where you put the poles.
Yes, and as soon as we're contacted about that, we'll understand what's going on there as well. So we can't be here 100% of the time to understand all the developments or the businesses that you're trying to bring into the city. And I know you're actively trying to bring as many businesses into the city as you can, which is something that we appreciate and want as well, for what Kimberly explained. As you guys grow, we grow. But we do have to know whether that's by the city with a planning meeting, or it's the developer or whoever's building the building calls us about the development. That's how we're notified.
Do you,
And that, sorry.
do you not have something put in place for a protocol of how an order needs to happen so this doesn't happen? I apologize, you just said something that caught my ear, and it had to do with you didn't know. What did you just say? I apologize. You didn't know something.
What you're saying is that you don't know if something's going in until somebody notifies you, and that could be anybody from a municipality or a developer. And so the developer might not even have anything approved yet
Now-
through the municipality.
Now, just to be clear too, so if Bob does contact us about a development coming in, we will not start a project just based on Bob telling us that. We will still get with the developer or the owner of that project.
You'll start a project based on just the developer telling you they have something,
Yes, ma'am.
And not the municipality.
and not the
coming back to you?
municipality.
That's correct.
That's kind of backwards.
That is backwards.
Well, the assumption is that they went through their permitting process with the city in order to be able to get to the point where they're actually moving dirt.
You keep saying assumptions an awful lot. So that's where I'm asking, where's the protocol? So this doesn't happen again.
So the protocol is a customer calls requesting service. It is the burden of the customer to make sure they have everything in order to be able to build where they're building. Now, whether that's a city permit if they're in the city limits or something to that effect.
Can I follow up on that, Mary?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if normally if you had a developer come to the city with plat, and you're saying sometimes the city will contact you and say, what do you need? What's your position on this plat?
Correct.
You opine, everybody goes forward, and you're saying, okay, that didn't happen here. Or let's assume it didn't happen here. What has that got to do with running lines along Main Street?
So,
That plat and Main Street. How would
So
we
it-
have known what was gonna happen on Main Street when they approved a plat, whether we took your input or not?
correct. So that is one area that I have made a commitment to Bob, that my team will definitely let him know, whether he's contacted us or anybody else in Perkins, of what our intentions are. So that was a misstep on our part that we are correcting. My team's correcting, for sure. Okay.
You know, it seems if you're going through a project, and maybe I'm wrong, but if you're going to do a project with someone, you need all the stakeholders at said project so you can talk about the problems of said project, so everyone is aware of what's going on.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't. And I've explained this to Bob as well, and I'm going to choose my words carefully. Please don't take this as a slight at all. But in larger areas where there is multiple developments all the time, typically those planning meetings happen once a month because they have multiple projects that are coming in to the city. So all the utilities get together, along with the fire department, sometimes the police department, in order to look over these plats and these developments to see what needs to happen. And at that point in time, all utilities can bring their concerns or potential infrastructure developments or improvements to get to whatever.
So how did you know
That-
it
and
was to be
that's-
offended?
That's true, and that's,
Well, because I'm,
can I just say, that's true, and I agree with that, but I still don't see how that would, even if we had a process in place for that, and in the future, we will make sure that we have a TAC meeting or a.
Or planning meeting.
Re-
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it.
I went 10
But-
years, and that was never brought up to me one time.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think that would have that wouldn't have solved any of the issues that they're presenting tonight if we had done that. So I think we could kind of move off of that.
and I certainly didn't want to offend you. What I just mean is, there's other areas that have multiple developments coming in all the time.
And-
So it's something that's established.
And that's what I mean about, everybody wants to know a solution and how can we prevent this from happening again? And one of those was me attending the planning commission meetings. I think that's a start. I think we've also, now we recognize, and I apologized on behalf of OG&E. We recognize that we have to communicate better and we have to have the parties involved. I know once Bob brought to our attention that, hey, we've got some issues going on here. Terry and our lighting person and Bob all sat down. So we can do better, and we are committed to doing better. Now, granted, we've got it. We are where we are right now, and all I can sit here and tell you is we are going to keep trying on this to try to figure out what we can do to improve, not only improve our communications, but also improve what we've got going on here, the line and the lighting project.
The planning commission meetings are 6 p.m., second Thursday of every month.
She's gonna need to know a long time before we get to that point. I send emails.
So where we are right now, because this not happening again will probably be easier on our end because this is impacting the citizens that are complaining to us and not to you. So I would imagine that as a city of Perkins, we're gonna keep our thumb on OG&E because
As well you should, honestly.
So that, I don't really have any
Should.
fear of that moving forward. But there is a solution for where we are right now with
Absolutely.
these above ground lines, and it's to put them underground. So my expectation would be that there has been a breakdown of communication, and whether we want to call that a mess up or a mistake or a fault, I don't care which adjective you use, the solution is to put them underground with whatever means necessary. That's ideal, and that stops the conversation.
Any other commissioners have anything to say?
I got a
Before we
question
move
for
on.
Bob.
Sir?
Hey, so who pays for the poles? Does the city pay for the poles when they need to be replaced?
The wood poles?
Yes.
No.
Okay. That was my only.
And going back, ODOT had an issue with 7 of the poles or whatever, but that issue's been remedied and they're okay with it, and now it's the overhead line that will interfere with the 30-foot pole, correct?
Correct. The safety of
They
the
weren't
like
put
swing.
back far enough
Right.
to allow.
And I also, I just want to reiterate that there, just to make sure that you all understand, there was a $3 million investment in Perkins. And your citizens that you represent will see better reliability. And I just want you to know that again, the reasons behind some of it. So I do want you to know that we do invest.
That's not withstanding or overlooked, ma'am.
Okay, and that's all. I just want to make,
It's a, it was a 3-day weekend. I went away for a 3-day weekend and came back.
I got a question. You were talking about the distance a while ago from where the lines are placed from the road. Is that distance that was put up here the same distance that it is put up in other municipalities from a ODOT highway?
Yes. So we had to submit a permit to ODOT to put the line where it's at, so they had to approve that line. Since it's a state highway.
All right.
Our commission, our planning notes, our meetings, the notes of those, are those posted?
Yeah.
The minutes?
So just as a recommendation, if you can't make a meeting, you can check and see the notes to see what is going on here in Perkins. Is that also available?
And we want that communication. I mean, I kind of sidetracked this meeting, and I apologize. We do want that communication, and I've made that commitment to Bob. And I've texted Bob and from time to time to make sure everything's okay, and is there anything else coming in? So we
all have jobs to do. We
Yes.
all represent companies, and we all have jobs to do. This wasn't just with you.
Ms. Adams, I really do appreciate your humbleness and your attitude and the fact that you're facing the brunt of some mistakes.
Again,
And I do appreciate the fact, I do hear you. I hear you on the 3 million. I get it, I understand. I'm a professional, I'm just not a business person. But at the same time, the amount of money that we poured into this is a lot for us. So for you, for OG&E, when I say you, I mean the company that you represent, yes, $3 million is a lot. But to fix this problem is a drop in the bucket for OG&E. For us, it's not a drop in the bucket, it's a lot for us. And I don't want OG&E to overlook the fact just because we're a small town we're a city that we're beholding to you.
And we don't,
We're partners.
right.
And partners don't go behind each other's backs. And partners don't not communicate. Because when they do, they're not really partners anymore. So, yes, I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate you. I do appreciate the $3 million that OG&E put in. And I will reiterate before I move on that fixing this and going underground is a drop in the bucket for your company.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
What would it cost to put those underground at this point?
The estimate today is about 250.
250.
And it was 80,000?
It was,
about 100.
it was a little over 100.
At some point, wasn't it 80,000?
That's what you had
They
said.
offered based
You
on-
said
Got
80.
really close to
You
80,000.
said 80,000.
Yes, because we had some money, we thought we did from the Kinder Wells project that we were gonna.
In the
add to,
budget.
yes, to try to reduce that cost.
And when was that discussion?
What was that, Bob? I had to go back and look, it's January, February of 23? It was in that time frame somewhere in there.
I think it was in February 23.
Thank you.
It would have been, it would have been February, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for allowing this, and Bob, I'm sorry for this, and I want you to know that too. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
item agenda number 9. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to select streetlight configuration on North Main Street. Commissioners?
Can I
Yes, ma'am?
just, before you move forward, you left, this was a continued item from last month, continued word for word. And so that I could look into this, because clearly I didn't know much. I was not helpful at that meeting. Before I learned very much, Bob communicated that he thought that there were going to be meetings at OG&E. They may come up with a different plan or a different option, and that I should just wait and see what happened. So I'm going to fall on my sword and say, even though you directed me to do something, I just didn't do it. I thought I would wait and see what you learned, what you wanted to do tonight. And the agenda item language is choose a configuration, and I wasn't sure if you were ready to do that tonight. And so I just wanted to go ahead and let you know that that's where we're at. I'm certainly, this is the type of thing that will come to you from me, either in an email or as an executive session. It's not something that I would have come back and discussed with you most likely tonight, and I put off doing that, so. I just wanted to-
I think we should table that, until we find some type of solution.
Is amen okay?
What?
Is it okay to say amen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Amen. I
We're
concur.
able to find
Just take a
resolution between us and
Is it
OG&E.
still the same language that, can I have a minute?
That's why I was looking for the,
Streetlight
I was
configuration.
looking for the, what you said last, what we directed her to do last time.
There's no option on that sheet that works. So there's no reason to keep kicking this can down the road.
Yeah, one of the things that you could do is just take no action on that item, and then we would reconfigure the language
If
Most
and when
likely.
something comes up.
to, on a.
If you table it, it just comes back on the next agenda. If that's your intention, table it.
But it comes back with the same wording and,
If you just want to take no action because you're not happy with any of the options, then I just take no action and move on.
or you can select an option, but those are
Yeah.
your options.
I say we take no action.
Worked for me.
Commissioner Cox?
If I had to pick one tonight, I could, but I don't like it.
I just don't think aesthetically it's what we want. I hate using.
I could pick an option if there's a compromise on the table. However, there is not a compromise on the table. As I said before, there's a deal with it.
80,000
Right.
to like.
I feel like
200,000.
I feel like it's just we're sorry, but deal with it. And
I think we can do better
we'll
as a
do it.
partnership.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we should do better as a partnership.
And knowing that these light poles are sitting somewhere is frustrating as well.
I also want uniformity from where it's coming in, where you come in on Main Street, turning off 33.
See, uniformity, that's a good word.
And you come down,
Think of a
I
professional
don't,
word.
you know, you see Main Street with how it is right now. I don't want the decorative poles on one side and the arms on the other side coming off the electric poles over here where they don't need to be, or
Shorter ones.
or the decoratives over here and yet the shorter ones over here until we get down there. You know, it's looked like I built with Legos. I mean, it's not professional.
That is correct.
And the town deserves professionalism. And that's how I feel.
Well, I mean, we all know this, but we all spent, what, a year in leadership development, strategic planning with EQ World USA, and part of it was, it's not just infrastructure that's under the ground, it's the infrastructure and the aestheticness that we're trying to create a great place and a beautiful place for people to come to, whether they come here and eat before they go to OSU, or they're traveling through on their motorcycle and stop and they see, hey, this is an awesome little place to stop and look at all these houses we could come in and purchase.
I want the lights put up as much as anyone or any citizen, but I want it done right the first time, so we don't have to
Absolutely.
go back and do it again a second time.
Okay,
And Mayor, I'm gonna ask you to do something unusual. Normally, I don't ask you to take a vote on no action, but I think in this situation, there ought to be a motion to take no action.
I make a motion that we take a vote on no action or take action upon agenda item number 9, consideration, discussion, and possible action to select streetlight configuration for North Main Street.
Second. Mayor?
No action. How do you want me to answer that?
Just taking a vote, right?
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes or no to it? Yes, no action.
Yes, no action. I'm gonna clarify it as I say it.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Agenda item number 10, consideration, discussion, and possible action to acknowledge fiscal year 2024-2025 budget schedule. Staff.
This is the same thing every year, basically, but I like to put it in front of you so that you know what the plan is going forward, so that we'll be working on our capital improvement plan first, and then I'll bring you back the first draft of the budget in April for you to take a look at, and then in May at the regular meeting, if you like it and we're all good with it, then you can vote on it. I think everybody was here last spring, but I'll just remind you that because I'm a department of one, I'm doing the budget and I'm doing the end of year at the same time. So it's super helpful to me if we can get the budget out of the way in May so that I can concentrate on end of year for that last month.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is not actually due until June 24th, but it's awesome if we can do it in May. So
Have you
that,
turned all your sticky notes over yet?
yeah, I can turn my sticky notes in. So, there it is.
So then if you move to acknowledge this, she can hold you to it.
Yeah, I heard about her. I get those text messages. Anyone, commissioners?
Looks good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget schedule.
Second.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
All right. Rachel,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll buy you sticky notes. Number 11, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the updated policy for live stream videos of city commissions, trusts, authorities, and boards.
Rachel wants me to talk to you about this. She did all the work. I did review.
Cut out
Excuse me.
As usual, it's her work.
through your little lines there.
This is, as you may recall, this is a policy we only put in place a year, or you only put in place a year or two back. But what we've realized is that not all meetings are live streamed because some of the meetings are happening at the plaza. And so that's essentially what this was revised to do, was to say that the meetings that are held here in this room, which is set up for live streaming, will be live streamed. And just some clarifications. Anything else?
Really clear cut, I mean,
It's actually simpler than it was.
cleaned it a little bit, yeah, I just cleaned it. Commissioners, anyone have comment or? Don't all jump out there at once.
No comments.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to approve the updated policy for live stream or videos of city commissions, trusts, authorities, and boards.
A second.
You have it. That much of a voice,
Yes.
so I'm gonna let you have it.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Huh?
Turn the fans off, is that
Are
possible?
you cold?
She's shivering over here.
My coat?
That was just me. Got a big blanket down here.
I have heated gloves. You want some heated gloves?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Stop it.
I had a hot flash and cool you, warm you up. Number 12, consideration, discussion, and possible action to acknowledge Resolution 27-2023, a resolution acknowledging donations of Linda A. Livingstone by naming a room or area of the library, the Charlotte Perrick, I hope I said that right, Perrick Children's Room or area.
Okay, I asked to talk to you about this because there's some history I wanted to explain to you and let you know that this is not how we're gonna handle these two items. This is not how we're planning on handling them in the future. That this is how these two items have worked out to be, and that is because I've said to you before, as we were developing the sponsorship policy, that a donation is where you give money and you don't get anything in return. And sponsorship is if we are actually acknowledging your donation or the funding by putting your name on a t-shirt or on a banner or on a plaque at the library. So going forward, the plaques at the library will be dealt with through the normal sponsorship policy procedure, and Rachel has already drafted the form for those. If you'll recall, Rachel has already drafted the application and agreement. Actually, I started that, she finished it. She took the one and got it ready for the library for this exact thing that may happen in the future. Because what happened was, I was informed that a librarian prior to Jen, some years ago, took a somehow money got donated, given, to actually donated, that's the right word, to the city, with the understanding that it was to go towards building a new library, and there was going to be a room, the children's room, named the Charlotte Perrick Children's Room. So this wasn't a donation and none of this was ever put in writing. So it's not a donation that was coming now or in the future, it's one that was made in the past.
Okay.
So that's not, so basically I just drafted a resolution for the library board to or the library authority to acknowledge the donation that was made and go ahead and fulfill what was an obligation, an unbinding, non-binding obligation that the prior librarian made to this person who made this donation. That's what that resolution is for. And then I'll talk to you more about the Robin Bailey donation agreement when we get to that agenda item. It's a little goofy, this agenda item, the Linda Livingstone Library. I thought it was interesting. Linda Livingstone is actually the president of Baylor.
Yes,
And,
she's from Perkins.
And her mother is sitting right here.
oh, are you?
Hello.
Are you Linda Livingstone?
No,
no,
he's Charlotte Perry.
You're Charlotte. Okay, well, thank you for coming.
And it's still being donated to also.
Well, there may be more money coming in, but this is to acknowledge money
So you're
that
Charlotte?
has come in.
Oh, we're so glad you're here.
We want a picture.
I know. Go take a picture with her.
No, you do it.
No, you do. Rob. Goodness gracious, that's awesome. Well, it's so nice to have you. Jennifer, what are you blushing for? You're like all red. So we just need to take action on this and vote it in, is that what you're saying?
Actually, all you have to do is acknowledge the resolution, because it's actually a resolution of the library trust, because that's how the funding happened
Gotcha.
some years ago.
Sounds great. So you, Miss Charlotte, are you Linda Livingstone's mother? Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
She doesn't look old enough, right?
I know, right? Jennifer, take a selfie with her, okay? Okay. So, discuss it really. I make a motion that we acknowledge the donations of Linda Livingstone by naming a room area of the library, the Charlotte Parrott Children's Room or area.
Second.
Good job.
Mayor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
Justin.
Yes.
That's who I thought.
Number. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to acknowledge donation agreement with Robin Bailey for contribution to the new library renovation project.
Okay. Also, before I even started drafting the sponsorship policy, and you know that that's kind of unique to us, and it took us a while.
Yes.
Ms. Bailey had offered, and there was an agreement, a verbal agreement, that she would make this contribution, and that contribution would be acknowledged with a plaque at the new library. So before we ever got to sponsorship policy, I drafted this agreement
Okay.
to go with Ms. Bailey. Again, we won't do it in the future, but this is how we did it this time. Any questions?
No. Commissioners, anyone? All right.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the donation agreement with Robin Bailey for contribution to the library renovation project.
I'll second. Mayor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Jason.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 14, consideration and discussion regarding presentation on proposed place sales tax by City Manager Bob Ernst.
So I had planned on giving the PowerPoint presentation that Rachel developed, and she did a very good job. I think it was included in your packets.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have had some technology issues that were not related to electricity, and so I'm not able to do that today, but if you'd like me to, I can go over it in your packet. Basically, what we tried to establish is why we're going after the tax, how municipalities in the United States receive funding, and Oklahoma is the only state that receives sales tax only. Other states that have a single form of funding, it's almost always property tax or income tax, which means they get a lot more money than we do. So that's why we need it. And then talked a little about revenue, things that come in, where is our money at? I mean, I think you guys pretty well know this stuff, but I think one of the big takeaways is if both quarter cent sales tax measures were to pass, we're still going to be, our sales tax will still be a bit lower than surrounding communities. And this is restricted funds. It's estimated to bring in $1 million over the span of 10 years for Park and Rec and for the library. The library's goal is to obviously finish the new library, do things like that, and I think they could do that and have a nest egg left over. It can be used to service debt. While it's restricted to the departments, it's actually fairly broadly written within the department on how they spend it. All that stuff would be ultimately come through you all, or most of it. We talked, we're trying to develop businesses and get things so we generate more sales tax. Rachel did a great job talking about where our money goes. And the goal is I'll present this at the town hall meeting, and then to anybody else that'll listen if they have, or they want more information about why we want this, because it puts everything together. Right now, on sales tax, 4.5 cents goes to the state of Oklahoma, 0.813 goes to Payne County, 2 cents comes to Perkins for our general fund, which is pretty much everything except public works, police, fire, library, streets, administration, and then 1 cent goes to our capital improvement fund, which is where we get some of the money for the streetlight deal. And then we have a public safety sales tax that was passed in 2012 or 2013 when I first got here, and that's 0.375 cents, 3/8 to that's dedicated to public safety, police, fire, and emergency management.
I think the comparison pages and they will be very effective for our citizens to understand.
Like, how much is it actually going to cost, or? Yeah.
Just comparing to other comparable municipalities around us.
Yeah.
Is good. It also, I think my favorite slide was where you showed how much a Sonic drink is gonna increase.
That's our deputy city clerk, court clerk, Tiffany Dorman came up with that.
I mean, how's it gonna affect you just like right now? You know, whether you go to the brew, the grind, or wherever you go, stop into Casey's for, what was that, a king size Snickers bar? King size Snickers bar.
Cute.
2 cents. 2
I
cents.
just think that, will help resonate and actually show, look, this amount of money could possibly be generated, and then this is what's really coming out of your pocket. And then here's something I think I mentioned this to you the other day while we were walking through the plant, is that I really want our citizens and people to understand that this could possibly help decrease some city groups having to go out and do fundraising.
Yeah.
Like this, and our businesses are inundated with fundraising a lot, and I think, I don't know, I had talked to some people and they're like, oh wow, I didn't think about it like that, but this right here it's generating those funds that we need without having to go out and talk to those businesses that we already talked to about, whether it's the school, the city, or this, that, or the other. So, and I just hope and pray it passes for both of them.
I just real quick, I would be remiss not to mention Robert Sasser. He's a community member. I was looking for a slogan or a catchy phrase, a way to present this, and he came up with PLAY. It's an investment in Perkins Library and youth, and I thought that was really good, because that's what we're doing, is we're investing in our youth, and and it's a limited tax. It's 10 years scope. It'll sunset.
You compared it, didn't you compare it one time like the MAPS projects?
That's
like
where that's kind of where
City
we
kind
came
of
up with it, and again, this is conversations I had with Robert Sasser, because, you know, Oklahoma City does the MAPS projects, and they go to the voters and say, we want to do this, this, and this, and it's obviously on a much larger scale, but relatively speaking, it's all the same. I mean, there's just, you know, more zeros, but this is giving the people the opportunity to vote, and what a sales tax does. The other thing it does is it picks up money from people passing through town.
Absolutely.
It doesn't put it all on the shoulders of our residents in the form of a property tax. So people passing through or going to the games in Stillwater or coming to games at the high school, they'll be contributing to make Perkins a better place.
It'll make those two yahoos' jobs easier too.
Yeah, and Jennifer's here from the library, and Trent's here from Park and Rec, and they're both very excited. And you know, if this were to pass on February 13th, it won't go into effect until July 1, because that's how the tax commission does it, and then we wouldn't actually receive any money until September, because there's a, you know, waiting period. They charge, and then they remit, and then they remit to us. So
I think it's exciting for our community,
I think it's
especially seeing all the numbers and seeing how, yeah, it's, I get it, it's another, people are gonna look at it, yeah, it's another increase, it's another thing put on our budget. At the same time, it's still so much less than, the cost of living is so much less here than it would be anyplace else, and we're just, I mean, we're growing like weed around.
we all want things. We all want the new library. We want
We want the
lights,
Park and Rec.
better lights at the field.
Right.
I mean, they both have lists as long as your arm, and everybody does, but we have to make an investment. The people need to make the decision to make the investment.
Well, voting yes and getting this passed makes everybody that comes into Perkins and buys anything investing in our youth.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just the tournaments and the activities that you do in the summertime here, and my favorite is the dairy cow and the trailer. It's the favorite. But yeah, you're correct. We're just gonna be able to,
Snickers, the cow.
the Snickers.
That's what the cow's name is, Snickers.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm not wrong.
Oh.
She's sweet.
I like the juggling guy that just about crashed and burned, but, you know, we'll digress on that.
This is very well put together.
Yes, thank you.
She did a fantastic job.
It is awesome, all the breakdowns.
All your sticky notes, you just really raise the bar every time. So, any other commissioners? I'm impressed. Thank you for your hard work, staff. It does not go unnoticed. We appreciate you. Number 15, new business. Under the Open Meeting Act, this agenda item is authorized only for matters not known about which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of posting the agenda or any revised agenda. No action. Number 16 passed. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting of the City of Perkins Tuesday, January 9th, 2024.
I'll second.
Thank you, dear.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
You want to need a break, or we're going straight into it? Straight?
Straight.
All right, I think I can handle it. You ready, Amy? Perkins Public Works Authority, regular meeting Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Thank you, Trent.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
You have to stay and sign all the papers. Number 2, consideration and action on consent agenda. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Number 4, public appearances, petitions, communications, and personal appearances. Under Oklahoma law, Perkins Public Works Authority board members are prohibited from discussing or taking any action on items not on today's agenda. 5, I literally think I could say that one in my sleep these days. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve contract with Northern Oklahoma Disposal for disposal of sludge removed from wastewater treatment plant by Environmental Management LLC at a cost not to exceed $50,000, utilizing prior year surplus funds, subject to approval of an acceptable contract by city attorney. Staff?
This is to,
First.
we have an agreement to dispose of sludge from the wastewater treatment plant. So you generally spend money per month. With the issues at the plant and the breakdowns, now we're doing it much quicker, and we're having wet sludge hauled out, so they have to do a little different deal up there. It's all approved by DEQ, and the city attorney wanted a separate agreement to make this
It's not
happen.
risky.
It's not, well,
Just say it's not risky.
Have they been back out there this
We
week?
have an agreement with Davis Sanitation to haul away A and to dispose it at Northern Oklahoma Disposal. Yes, we do. And we have an agreement with Environmental Management LLC to remove the sludge and take it to Northern Oklahoma Disposal. But we don't have an agreement that Environmental Management LLC gets to dispose it there. We don't have an agreement with Northern Oklahoma Disposal at all. Davis,
just the
the reason that Davis gets to dispose of it there is because they own Northern Oklahoma Disposal. Does that make sense? So they can do it because they are the hauler, they are the disposal, the landfill or whatever.
it's a landfill.
So
But there isn't anything that says yet that Environmental Management LLC gets to dispose of it there, that they're okay with that. That there's nothing that says that Northern Oklahoma Disposal is okay with Environmental Management LLC disposing it in their landfill, although we know they are.
this is, just
Technicality.
to reiterate what we talked about, that's different from this is disposal, not a removal or transport.
Right.
Okay, and this is typical,
It's the landfill fee, essentially.
Bob, you told me that, usually we take it over there in a dry
I
product.
believe there is an agreement to put our sludge at Northern Oklahoma Disposal. We do it every year, based on
If
something.
Davis pulls it, if Davis does it. We've just never had to hire this other company.
So we're gonna do an agreement that says that another company can put it there?
Now, we're gonna do an agreement with Northern Disposal, Oklahoma Disposal, saying that that Environmental Management can put it there and how much it's gonna cost per.
And that's owned by the same company, we already have
It's
the,
all Davis Sanitation.
by the 97 to remove that nasty stuff?
Huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's owned by Davis.
It's not.
yeah, and DEQ's
Sorry.
approved it, it's all in writing. On the DEQ
Okay.
paperwork.
So you're good with this?
Sure.
Yes. I make a motion to approve the contract with Northern Oklahoma Disposal for disposal of sludge removed from wastewater treatment plant by Environmental Management LLC at a cost not to exceed $50,000, utilizing prior year surplus funds, subject to approval of an acceptable contract by city attorney.
Second.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, Sarah?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Bob, once that screen's put in, this'll all, some of this will decrease.
It's gonna take probably 6 months
Okay.
to level out,
Okay.
conservatively. And the screen will be installed this week.
Uh-huh.
We got kicked down the road till February for the manufacturer to come in. That actually happened yesterday, so that would be new business.
explain that? It's gonna be installed this week, but what got pushed out?
The piece of equipment that was bought with American-made iron and steel is made in Canada.
Yes.
So the Canadians that made it need to come down for warranty purposes to watch it start.
Okay,
So we're having a company install it
okay.
at a cost of $15,000 to $18,000. And then it's just gonna sit there and we're gonna bypass it. And when they can get down from Canada, along with a group from Haynes, they're gonna push the button, and I don't know what happens after that. Then it will start removing trash as it comes into the plant. The issue then is all the trash that's already in the plant is gonna take a long time. It's a very slow process to get it worked out without spending an enormous amount of money, which we're already doing.
Take a road trip to Canada and just drive them back ourselves.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We'll be leaving tomorrow.
Number 6. On a sabbatical for a while. You'll be in charge. Number, the stop.
Sorry, guys.
Our day jobs make us tired. Number 6, consideration, discussion, and possible action to acknowledge change in purchase order number 2311038, reflecting a decrease in the amount awarded by the Oklahoma Rural Water Association Rural Infrastructure Grant Program and an increase in water capital outlay expense.
So I thought we needed to have this just for you to understand or acknowledge, since it was grant funding, that because the hydrovac that Bob found at Rivier State was not quite as expensive, yay, but then ORWA didn't give us quite as much money, boo, but it's 1,000, what is it, $800 and something difference.
Right.
Which, so I just wanted you to understand that we didn't get quite as much money.
Then it helped that he found that other grant.
Right, because they base what they gave us, I think it's 80% of the amount.
We're only out of pocket about $2,000 on a $60,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I like it.
We were gonna be out of pocket something.
And we already have it, right?
Great return.
We were gonna be out of pocket 12. Yes, we
We
have.
already have it?
Yes.
Finally. Kids and services, woo, way to go. I make a motion that we acknowledge the change in purchase order number 2311038, reflecting a decrease in the amount awarded by the Oklahoma Rural Water Association Rural Infrastructure Grant Program and an increase in water capital outlay expense.
Second?
Mayor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Number 7, new business. Under the Open Meeting Act, this agenda item is authorized only for matters not known about or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of posting the agenda or any revised agenda. Number 8, I make a motion that we adjourn the Perkins Public Works Authority regular meeting Tuesday, January 9th, 2024.
I'll second.
Team.
Mayor?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Vice Mayor?
I always forget that part.
Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Justin?
Yes.
Then we'd all have to stay here together. Yes. I got you.
Jennifer, you know how to turn that off?